Our next movie is named Wish You Were Here, and this one is a real jewel with a great performance by a young British newcomer whose name is Emily Lloyd. Remember that name. She plays a teenage girl in England in the years right after the war and in the early 1950s. And her mother's dead, her father is a drunk, and she's a rebel who decides that it's fun to shock people. One thing she knows, there's no future in being a beauty operator.
Look what you've done to my hair.
Oh, I don't know. It looks nice. It's nice.
Look at it, look at it.
Oh, shut up, you silly fat cow. You can always wear a hat. Linda.
She notices that all the lads in town are sex mad, and she teases them just to frustrate them. At the bus company where she gets her next job, she puts on more of a show.
What about your knickers? You're fired. You're fired. No, you're not. Just you. You're fired.
But for all of her scandalous behavior, she knows next to nothing about sex, and the boy she chooses as her first lover has learned everything he knows by the close study of Hollywood movies.
Cool. Look at you.
Do you fancy me?
Not half as much as you fancy yourself. What kind of cigarette is that?
Du Maurier.
Really?
They're the best.
Toothpaste.
I'm going to make love to you.
Do bloody hope so.
And you get a taste there of how spunky she is. She's really got a great personality, and that guy obviously has been looking at too many Ronald Colman films. Wish You Were Here tells a sad story, though, of a girl who has been emotionally abandoned and whose high spirits are condemned by her society just because she's a young woman. This could have been a really depressing story, but it's not, and the reason it isn't is Emily Lloyd. She gives one of the great debut performances of recent years, and what she does is rescue the depressing story with the force of her own unsinkable personality. She's always fascinating to watch in this movie, and no matter what happens to her, and a lot of unhappy things do happen to her, we somehow know that she's a survivor, and this is a terrific movie.
It's a terrific movie and a terrific performance, and there's a great tradition, actually, in the movies of young women being rebels and paying for it, and young women mirroring society and its flaws back to society. And this film is in that great tradition. I'm thinking of pictures like A Nose Amour, Pretty Baby, like Louis Malle. Usually a lot of French films do it. It's great to see it done now in England. I'd like to see it done in America. I mean, this is a very special kind of film.
The director of this film said in an interview over at the Cannes Film Festival, where I saw it, that so often in interviewing women who grew up in the 40s and 50s about their early sexual experiences, she found that they were almost always awkward, that they were almost always unhappy, that they were almost always involving a great deal of ignorance and misinformation. And this is a movie about that, about a woman whose spirit and whose self-worth are not destroyed by the fact that she has to go through all of this really bad kind of stuff.
I think this would be a great film for, you know, talk about teenage films. This would be a great film for teenagers, boys and girls, to see, because I think they would relate to it and maybe learn something from it.
Could be. Coming up next, a major event in pop culture, the 50th anniversary of Superman, and we'll look at a couple of vintage videos starring the Cape Defender of Truth, Justice, and the American Way.